Well, it should have never been put in like that anyways. I mean, that's what drains that whole portion of the city. We have no storm drainage here, so that the more houses you create and you cover with concrete and asphalt, the more surface water you're going to create when it rains. When I was a young man, I can remember thunderstorms in the summer where we'd get 2 or 3 inches of rain in an hour. That was fine back then because everything was just big fields and the water went off into the fields and it didn't damage anybody's property. Planning and zoning, I personally feel, is at fault. The developers come in and they looked at a 100-year flood, a 50-year flood, a 500-year flood, and they determined by planning and zoning what was required to channel this water out of there. Well, there used to be a drain ditch there that was 20 feet across and 15 foot wide, and they threw 2 24-inch culverts in there. Well, all of the water on that south part of Farm District and the Fernley Hills subdivision, I think it's called Fernley Hills, or Farm Lane subdivision, drains down to that point that you're talking about on Shadow Mountain, and then it's restricted because of the pipe size. I feel that personally that the planning and zoning director at that time that was put in was not doing his job, and his was overseen by the city manager, who also signed off on that. He was not doing his job, and the sitting city council at that time, they were not doing their job. That should have been a big box culvert that would have handled 20 times the water that what that'll hold right now. You know, and then you can go right around the corner to Ginny's Lane where they covered that over there, and they did the same thing there. So you've got 2 restrictions there. Nobody's assuming responsibility for maintaining those drain ditches. So when that water comes down there, all the neighbors take and throw their trash over in there. So somebody needs to maintain it, so when the trash ends up in the ditch, somebody should be there policing it up or finding the people who dumped the water in there and caused the blockage. So when the water came, picked up all that debris, pushed it down, plugged off those pipes, backed it up, went over the road, went down, did the same thing again, and you know, that I'm not saying that would have stopped the flood from damaging the properties there, but I don't think it would have been to the extent that it was if they'd had the proper drainage. You know, a lot of those old drain ditches that were in the city of Fernley, they were there for a reason, and the people moving into the homes have seen fit to just fill them in because there's no water running into them again, and they wanted to use them for their own property. Well, the city needs to maintain that, and they need to emphasize to those people that, you know, those are there for a purpose, and we have no storm drainage, so that's where all the storm water goes. And if you block yours off, you're going to flood your neighbor up above you.
Correct. Now, from what I understand, there could be fines in place from people who do backfill. Yet
if you have a law and you don't enforce the law, what's the use of having the law? We can have also, I mean, it's against the law to change your oil in your driveway in Fernley now. And I think that's a ridiculous law. Everybody, if they own their property and they're maintaining their vehicle on their property, it should be perfectly fine. And you know, I think Fernley government has run a little astray there, and I don't feel the city councilmen that are there right now, except for maybe Mr. Eldridge, who is new, were doing their job. They depended on the staff, and the staff didn't do their job. And the residents are the ones that are going to pay for it.